The arrests have begun. Not threats, not investigations, arrests. Federal agents acting under direct orders from Attorney General Pam Bondi just arrested Nekima Levy Armstrong, a radical far-left civil rights lawyer and woke activist in Minneapolis, for leading a mob that stormed a church service, terrorized families, and forced the worship to end. And she's not alone. A second activist agitator, Chantil Louisa Allen, has just been taken into custody. This is not about protests. This isn't about free speech. This is about the Trump administration drawing a hard line. Attack a church, and you will be prosecuted under the full force of federal law. Hey gang, it's me, Dr. Steve, your patron professor, here to help you make sense of the madness with breaking news and analysis you're not going to get anywhere else. So make sure to smack that bell and subscribe button. Last Sunday, approximately 40 far-left agitators burst into City's Church in St. Paul, Minnesota during an active worship service. They completely disrupted the service, chanting "ICE out" and "Justice for Nay," and disrupting and terrorizing families with children, screaming racial insults at congregants, and forcing the service to end. The Minnesota-Wisconsin Baptist Convention called it an unacceptable trauma. Video shows protesters confronting the lead pastor, blocking exits, and creating chaos inside the sanctuary. Why this church? Well, because one of its 8 pastors, David Easterwood, was believed by these agitators to be the acting director of the ICE field office in St. Paul. The irony is that he wasn't even officiating that day. But that didn't seem to matter to the mob. This Levy Armstrong, she organized the protest through her Radical Justice Network and took to Facebook and called on all her followers to storm the church. Within 48 hours, Attorney General Pam Bondi announced arrests. Quote, "At my direction, HSI and FBI agents executed an arrest in Minnesota. Listen loud and clear. We do not tolerate attacks on places of worship." We are now getting word that Nekima Levy Armstrong and others have indeed been arrested and charged with a federal crime under U.S. Code 18, Section 241, the so-called FACE Act, the Freedom of Access to Clinic Entrances Act, which prohibits using force, threats, or physical obstruction to interfere with anyone exercising their First Amendment right to religious freedom. Now, a little fun fact about this Nekima Levy Armstrong, it's going to make your blood boil. Well, or it's going to make you even more excited knowing that she is even now behind bars. I doubt you'll be surprised to learn that she isn't just some street activist. She's been running a lucrative nonprofit empire while claiming to fight poverty. According to Fox News' review of her tax filings, Armstrong raked in over $1.1 million in 6 years as executive director of the Wayfinder Foundation, a supposedly anti-poverty nonprofit. Yeah, well, it's certainly anti-poverty for her. In 2024 alone, she took home nearly $216,000 in salary, plus another $40,000 in benefits, while her foundation awarded just under $160,000 in grants to the communities it claimed to serve. She was reportedly making more money and consistently has done so than the organization gives out. During her entire tenure from 2019 to 2024, Armstrong personally collected nearly $1 million in salary plus $200,000 in additional compensation, while the foundation distributed just $700,000 in actual grants. And by the way, one of the major donors to her foundation was none other, of course, than the Black Lives Matter Global Network Foundation. Talk about scam on top of scam. So as you can see, this repulsive woman is part of what's increasingly being called the grievance industrial complex. And this has been written about extensively. As it turns out, grievance politics is all about enriching the activists. The activists, under the guise, the veneer of standing up for the supposed rights of the oppressed, end up only enriching themselves, and they end up helping no one but themselves. I mean, we've seen this most explicitly with the Southern Poverty Law Center, the SPLC, which has perhaps more than any other organization turned grievance politics into a multi-million-dollar industry. And we're seeing it here in Minneapolis. And apparently the Champagne Socialist, Nikema Levy-Armstrong, and her limousine liberal ilk needed more checks written to them, so they staged this publicity stunt at the church, which of course is even now backfiring hard. Again, the key here is that this has nothing to do ultimately with illegal migrants or justice for Renee or anything remotely like that. It literally has everything to do with enriching the activists themselves. It is a business model. It is a money-making racket, and that racket just got shut down hard. Now, these two who just got arrested are just the beginning. The arrests will continue throughout the coming days, but what these arrests point to is a picture that goes way beyond Minneapolis. What we're about to see is how the Trump administration is completely dismantling the entire left-wing activist network and reimposing law and order in our nation. Wait until you see this. But first, while these champagne socialists are living the high life, often from your tax dollars, I know a lot of you are feeling the financial squeeze right now. I mean, everything costs more, but paychecks haven't gone up. And honestly, I mean, the usual advice, just get a second job. It's not realistic for most of us. So I want to share something absolutely amazing that I've discovered. I'm so excited about this. It's what I call a ghost economy in the online book market. It's a $2.7 billion, you heard that right, billion with a B, industry that most people have absolutely no idea it exists. That's why I call it a ghost industry. And here's how it works. It's actually amazing, and it's simple. The online book market is incredibly fragmented. So the same book can be priced at $5 on one website and $65 on another, simply because these platforms don't communicate with each other. People who understand this are quietly supplementing their income by identifying these price differences. Now, I'm not saying you're going to get rich overnight. That's not what this is about. But what if you could bring in some pretty significant extra money each month, working straight from your laptop in your spare time? I'm talking, real money that could help with bills, pay down debt, or just give you some financial breathing room. And the amazing part here is that you never actually handle any physical books. Everything happens completely online, digitally, through existing platforms. You just need to know where to look and how the system works. That's it. That's why I'm hosting a free training where you can see exactly how this works. You'll see the specific websites, the process for finding these price gaps, and how to get started immediately. Look, I know there are a lot of, empty promises out there, to say the least. Gang, trust me, this isn't that. It's a real market inefficiency that exists right now, and I want you to learn how it works so we can all financially flourish. If you're tired of financial stress and want to explore a practical way to earn extra income, just click on that link below to register for the training, or go to bkprofit.com/Turley. That's bkprofit.com/Turley. This isn't just about Minneapolis. What you're seeing is the opening salvo of a nationwide crackdown on far-left agitators that the Trump administration has been planning for months. Back in December, Attorney General Pam Bondi issued a memo to all federal law enforcement agencies requiring them to coordinate delivery of intelligence on Antifa and related activities to the FBI. The memo explicitly identified ideological markers for investigation. So things like anti-Americanism, anti-capitalism, anti-Christianity, opposition to law enforcement and immigration enforcement, radical gender ideology, and antipathy to traditional views of the family. The directive: build lists of Americans and foreigners to scrutinize as part of a campaign to completely disrupt and dismantle what the administration considers escalating political violence from the American left. And they're already making arrests In October, federal prosecutors secured the first terrorism indictments under Trump's executive order designated Antifa as a domestic terrorist organization. The two men, Cameron Arnold and Zachary Evans, have been charged with providing material support to terrorists for their alleged roles in a coordinated July 4th attack on an ICE detention facility in Alvarado, Texas, where a police officer was shot. Prosecutors described them as members of a North Texas Antifa cell that used fireworks and vandalism to lure law enforcement into an ambush. Then in December, the FBI arrested 4 alleged members of the Turtle Island Liberation Front, a radical leftist group in the Mojave Desert, as they were building pipe bombs for what prosecutors called a New Year's Eve terror plot targeting Southern California logistics centers. And here's the key point. The Trump administration is using rarely invoked Civil War-era statutes to prosecute these cases, the very same law that the Biden administration used against January 6 protesters. That's now being deployed against these left-wing activists. Minnesota has become ground zero for this confrontation. The Trump administration has deployed over 3,000 ICE agents and Border Patrol agents to the Twin Cities, nearly 5 times the size of the entire Minneapolis Police Department. And they're not playing games. Upwards of 10,000 illegal aliens have been arrested in just the last several weeks in Minneapolis alone. And then on January 19th, the DOJ served grand jury subpoenas to Minnesota Governor Tim Walz, Minneapolis Mayor Jacob Frey, Attorney General Keith Ellison, and multiple other Minnesota Democrats. The allegation? Conspiracy to obstruct federal immigration enforcement, the very same statute used against January 6 defendants. Pam Bondi herself has flown to Minnesota to personally oversee the investigation, and the message is unmistakable. If you're a sanctuary city official who refuses to cooperate with ICE, you're going to be investigated and you are going to be prosecuted. For years, far-left activists operated with impunity. They shut down highways, they occupied buildings, they disrupted public meetings, and yes, they attacked churches, all while prosecutors in progressive cities looked the other way. The Trump administration just ended that era. The arrests have begun. Nikema Levy-Armstrong is in federal custody. So is Chantil Allen. 4 alleged Turtle Island Liberation Front members are awaiting trial on terrorism charges. 2 alleged Antifa cell members face life in prison. And Minnesota's top Democrat officials, including a former vice presidential candidate, are all under federal investigation for obstruction. This is what law and order looks like. This is what happens when the federal government finally decides to enforce the law equally, not just against conservatives on January 6th, but against left-wing extremists who think churches are fair game. The crackdown is real. The arrests are happening. And if you attack a place of worship in America, you will face the full force of federal law.